we are discussing a very simple topic, most especially from the Association of African Universities. When we organize workshops and critical issues come out, the participants will tell us, we wish you organize a common platform where the VCs will be there and we'll tell them what we think. But surprisingly, when you create that platform, like what Natasha said, they all ask diplomatic questions. Because if you ask any difficult questions, you come back and meet me in the university. But we are privileged to have some policy makers here. And I think that what we've learned right from day one in PedaL, we have the opportunity to ask them the difficult questions and demand answers that will support the work that we do. And so the first to be introduced is Dr. Julius Juan, and he is a CEO KICD to join us. Let's put our hands together for him. The next is Dr. Cyrus. Okay, I think I need glasses. I shouldn't worry, thank you so much. And he is also representing the Ugandan Council for Higher Education. And then we have Professor Bonaventure Rutinwa, and he's a DVC, University of Dar es Salaam. And then Professor Jonathan Babalola, and he is a provost of the College of Postgraduate Studies, University of Ibadan. Okay, so this is going to be an interactive session. I may just ask them 2-3 questions and I open the floor so that if you have burning questions and critical issues you want us to look at, we can rightly do so. All right, but I would like to start from the first one I did. There were 2 critical issues that came out, which is very much important for policymakers. I may paraphrase them, and I hope that I got them right. The first one had to do with the fact that they wanted, or we want, our university or education system to be much more flexible, and that will help us implement the very things that we are doing as PedaL. I remember just last 2 weeks we interviewed some student interns, and they are reading IT, that is information technology. We asked them, did you write any exams on programming last semester? They said yes. How did you write it? They did programming exams on paper. Programming. I know the IT guys, or those who are, how can you do programming examination? Level 200, 300 on paper, while the laptops and the computers were just home, sleeping. A whole lot of things. How will we be able to have that environment, a free environment to do examinations and critical things in the university as well? Number 2, one thing that came out strongly was that, can we give similar credit to teaching, just as we do for research in terms of promotion? I don't know if we all heard it. Did we hear that one? Yes. That we need to give much more credit to teaching excellence, in as much as we want to look at research in terms of promotion. With these 2 key things, we want to open the floor for you to give us take-homes and tangible things. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. I will start with the flexibility issue. We have various types of people with various standards. The moment you allow things to be very, very flexible, you will run into the problem of quality. And that is why most universities have regulating agencies to set the minimum standards. I mean the minimum standard, which I believe is very, very important and is very, very good. Even in some cases where you have minimum standard, you see some who are far, far below, and yet they will be the first to get accreditation. So when you now come to a level of now say, okay, you are flexible, then you probably see much more terrible things. I believe that, well, as a scientist, if you have a goat and you have a peg, the best you can do, if you don't want him to go outside that ring, is to tie a rope to his neck. So he has a band he can get to, and on the other one, he has to be very close to you. So having a minimum standard, I believe, is very, very important. Now, within that range, we can make something very flexible. Education in Africa is rigid.
Yeah.
in Europe is flexible. In the Norwegians, they said that they don't start as early as we do. These days you see children who are 2, 3 already doing things that they ought to be doing at primary 3 or 4. Instead of learning some other skills, they ought to learn when they are young. But in Norwegian, what they do is that they allow them to play, they learn at their own pace. We don't do that. We struggle, we rush. So I believe that it would be good if there's flexibility, but there must be a minimum standard that everybody will need to follow. That answers that. About teaching and research, well, I'm talking as a person, not in my position as a provost. I believe that for you to be a good teacher, you must be a good researcher. So if you are not a good researcher, you cannot be a good teacher. And if you are a good researcher, you may not be a good teacher. So I believe the two components needs to come in. The fact is, if you have been employed to teach, if you have not taught well to certain level, you should not be promoted irrespective of your publications. So that should be you should have a minimum score for teaching. But if somebody is a very good teacher, it could be teaching nonsense. It's possible, yeah, that's right. It's possible that you have somebody who is teaching, but the things he's been teaching are things that are already very, very outdated. No, we still see geography teacher who will pick books that were published in 1970 and will come to class and teach students the earth is flat. He has taught well. Students understood the earth is flat. But it's not been reading, it's not been doing current, it's not current in research. Even in my field, nothing's changed actually every day. You get to class now, you say there are 3 states of matter. No, it's now gone beyond that. We have 4. The 4th one, I'm sure many scientists are not aware because they are not current. So the reality is that teaching should be a benchmark for allowing promotion. But I think the issue of research is still very, very important. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think you raised debatable issues when you open the floor. We have a lot of people who would, so they are eager to react. But let's listen to the second speaker on the 2 premises.
I don't think I understood the first question.
Okay.
But given that in an examination, you only answer what you have understood. Question number 2. My name is Cyrus Sofian. I work with the National Council for Higher Education, and I do head the unit responsible for the standards. Issue number 2, I think as the National Council for Higher Education have been flexible enough. 3 areas that the university is really responsible for: teaching, research, and community service. We have noted it already. I think last year I said in Robin that when we wrote the benchmarks for KGE program in Uganda, we included a unit for every, doesn't matter where it was. It's a requirement in Uganda that when somebody is undertaking a KGE program, they must undergo a pedagogical skills training. That's what we have run. If you are a university from Uganda and you are here and your PhD program doesn't include this unit, you better inform me now, and I can see how we can withdraw the accreditation of the program. Then another thing arising out of the feedback we get from students. I did visit a university offering engineering in Uganda, and the students say they have excellent engineers, but they cannot deliver. This was feedback from the students. We took note of it. And now, Mr. Moderator, we are reviewing our standard on promotion of staff within the university, which is a standard, a kind of minimum standard for promotion and recruitment of lecturers or professors. And actually, we are requiring it now. Our council has already passed that pedagogy is a requirement for every person teaching within the university, starting at the level of a lecturer. We are not saying that you should not employ them, but the moment they are employed within a time like 6 months, the university, now the responsibility is to a university to ensure that this person has undergone through a pedagogical training. So it's a requirement now for National Council for Higher Education. Allow me to make mention of the promotion criteria. Yes, it is still part of the promotion criteria, but as my colleague has said it here, I have a challenge. And as a person in charge of standards, I want, and I'm actually looking for my aha moment, and this is, I've not gotten out. I attended the one in Nairobi, the one in Entebbe, and now here, and I'm giving it to you, the PedaL team here. Can you construct for me a criteria for promotion of academic staff within the universities? But the only thing that we have, for research it is easy, it can easily be quantified. For teaching, 5 years of teaching. I can spend 5 years but teaching very badly. So do you want me to promote someone who has spent 10 years teaching and teaching very badly? So what I'm lacking is kind of a trusted quantitative and qualitative criteria for the promotion of academic staff from one level to another. If I may conclude, in Uganda we have even been flexible enough to say that not only teaching, but also community engagement. So we want community engagement to form informed teaching, we want research to inform teaching. In fact, we have gone away to say, if you are an engineer, you have been supervising this, this building, this high-level building, then this is very good. So we have given it points. The same thing that is happening, I think in Kenya. So we have given it points so that everything that you do has points for promotion. It's not only research as it used to be, but we are going into an area of trying to weight community engagement, to weigh teaching, and as well as research. We are not saying that we are taking away research. Research is part, teaching is part, community engagement is part. And we have gone away to say the way the engineers understand is not the same way the health professionals understand, it's not the same way the humanities people understand. We are trying to kind of segment for each one. For example, when it came to community engagement, whereas in areas like humanities, also it's not easy to engage into a project of say $1 million US, for the engineers, it is easy. So to become a lecturer, for example, we say an engineer, one of the things that you need to have engaged in a project of $1 million US. Yet when you come to other areas, $1 million US maybe could be at the level of a professor. I will submit. All right.
Prof, let me tweak the question in a different way so that we get another meaning. Would you suggest that perhaps maybe we have academics who are solely responsible for teaching and others also for research? Would you?
Okay, I will attempt to answer that question. First of all, good evening, everybody. In the interest of time, I'm not going to protocols, I will go straight to the questions. This session is primarily about creating enabling environment for PedaL. And I will talk about what the University of Dar es Salaam is doing about it before I go to the two questions.
Okay.
PedaL was rolled out last year, August, thereabouts. Since then, we have done the following things. First, we have created a coordinating institution, the chair of which is in this room. Dr. Dutch, would you stand up? And then the members of that committee present. So we now have a university institution, and I must credit Beatrice for this because she kept nagging me. She even came to Dar es Salaam. After our discussion, I told her before you land in Nairobi, the committee will be in place, and it was. And here it is.
Great.
Secondly, and I think this must be music to Beatrice, to your ears, now the Senate of the University of Dar es Salaam has passed a policy requiring each and every member of the academic staff to undergo pedagogical training as it were.
Great.
And it will take place at two levels. One, upon recruitment, you will not be allowed to do activities until you have done and passed that course. But also there will be one for continuous training. So at the level of policy, we cannot go beyond that. The content of that training will be determined between our School of Education and our Center for Continuous Learning. And I think this is the opportunity now to institutionalize PedaL. So the board is back in your court. I'm really a lawyer, so I cannot go beyond that because I really don't know about much about teaching. Maybe I need to be trained. So now it's an official policy of the University of Dar es Salaam. You must undergo pedagogical training. We have also addressed some of the issues that have come up this morning. For example, about funding some of our initiatives ourselves. We, the University of Dar es Salaam, from this year, we have decided that we are establishing a research fund for our academic members of staff. We have started with $500,000. This is not from a donor. This is not from the government of the United of Tanzania. It is from internally generated resources. In fact, we gave out money this year. Half of them could not spend it. We had already issued them letters to bring back the money because they're not used to being given money by the university to do research. But now we have given them a period of grace. It was 1 year, now we have given them 2 years. We shall not spend it to bring it back. Our intention is to increase it gradually so that we can now start funding our own priorities. But we have also established a University of Dar es Salaam merit scholarship. Out of our own funds, we'll be funding 50 undergraduate students, 50 postgraduate students every year, so that we can bring the brightest to the institution who would otherwise not have access. So those are some of the small steps we are taking, but which I think are a giant leap for pedagogy. Now let me maybe come to the questions that have been put on the table. I didn't understand the very first question either, just like you. The second one clearly I understood it, and I think one of the ladies spoke a lot about how we treat and value teaching vis-a-vis research in academic institutions, and I think she was entirely right. At the University of Dar es Salaam, we have promotion criteria, but usually the way the points are distributed, and actually they are drawn from the harmonized scheme of service for public universities in Tanzania. Teaching accounts for just about 20%. But, and that's not worse. The worst part of it, almost as long as you're on campus, everybody gets that 20%. Whether you are teaching, you are not teaching, nobody bothers. This is about it. The only circumstances under which you not get those points is if you're on secondment or you are not involved in teaching. However, we are changing that now, and I'm sure my staff don't even know this. Right now, although we have not reset the balance between research and teaching, we are in the process of developing criteria of how you earn those 20 to 30% depending on the level of promotion. And this is going to include, first of all, how you teach, but also how you continuously develop your pedagogical skills. And maybe I'll count on your support because it's me who is actually supposed to come up with those criteria, because I'm the gatekeeper of all promotions that go to the relevant bodies. I think this may not address the question of balancing, but at least people start now valuing how they teach, because it may make all and make you as an academic. Now, lastly, let me come to your question. Should we have people who are essentially research academics, research lecturers, research professors, and so forth, and people focused in teaching? We at the University of Dar es Salaam, we once had that category.
Okay.
Yes, we had people who were just involved in research and they would go up the ranks. I think we stopped this around the year 1998, and we required everybody to be engaged in teaching and research. In fact, people felt those who were just involved in research were having a free ride. So, but recently we have just been brainstorming around that. Clearly, there are people who are very good lecturers, but perhaps they are not so endowed in ability to conduct research. They shouldn't be made to suffer. However, as matters stand, we still require everybody to carry out research and to do teaching. Whether that will change, maybe this is another food for thought for me to take with me home. I thank you for your attention. If you have any question, I will be more than happy to answer it, because in my position, you see, this is a profession, and in any profession there are occupational hazards. If you cannot take the heat, get out of the kitchen. I am ready for the question.
All right, thank you very much. So let's listen to Dr. Julius, and then we'll open the floor. Yes, Dr. Julius.
Thank you very much. I don't know whether I would be much relevant about the issues going on, but allow me to start by saying that I seem to have a problem with the issue of discussion between teaching and research. Because we give an impression that research or teaching is divorced from research, and the pedagogy is the science of teaching. Then I'm a bit worried that we expect people who are at the university to be going to class and teaching badly or teaching well, and we want to promote them to be scholars in the university. I also have a problem when you talk of somebody teaching badly at a university level. My simple thinking when I joined the university, I was told I was a lecturer, and I looked back at my lecturer who taught me literature when I was in undergraduate, who came to teach theater of the absurd and spent 2 hours, rather 1 hour, to teach us Mr. is dead and Godot's is born out of my mind. And when we thought we were just starting, he told us, I'm done. Since we're university students, I expect you to go and read. I've given you the key issues that you're supposed to. Because I'm a lecturer and I'm a trained teacher. So when I started working at the university, having taught in secondary school and also taught in a teacher training college, I found that my approach was different. And I would not consider my professor who taught me literature a bad teacher. And therefore, if I go to teach the way I've been teaching in school, then I would be considered a good teacher. I think these terms, good, bad, and all that within a university context probably are things that we need to deal with a little more. And divorcing research from teaching, I think probably would also deviate us from what university is supposed to be. The issue of flexibility within the university, in my view, probably should be looked at in a broader context. I heard one of the colleagues indicating that in Europe they are more flexible, in Africa we are not. But I think this could be starting from a lower level. That a lot of what we do in the university sometimes is derived from our basic education structure and the way that we have been probably brought up to deal with education matters. And I think that is why you find that currently there's a lot of pedagogical transformation across the world. Actually, if you attend some of the engagements across the world, you think there's a pedagogical revolution embedded within various education transformations across many countries. I'll give you an example. For example, in Singapore, the way that they're designing their pedagogy at the basic education links directly with what they're doing at the university. We attended a presentation of how they are trying to transform the basic education and how that is being reflected at the university level. And therefore issues of call them 21st century skills, I think that has now become almost a cliche. But there's a very tight link. If you look at a place like Finland, probably being indicated, claimed, let me use that word, as providing one of the best curriculum within the basic education. And the fact that they want to go phenomena-based kind of education system where learners go to school, there are no specific learning areas, you know, they discover for themselves and you take them along that line. If you look at the way they've structured the university engagement, again, you find that kind of freedom to explore embedded within the system. So, trying to look at universities in isolation without looking at what the countries are doing probably will also create a disconnect because we are a product of a system down here. Within the East African community, the treaty that was passed in 2012, Chapter 6, came up with a kind of education framework that tries to respond to the needs of what is happening across the world. And they went ahead and even developed what I would call basic education curriculum framework and tried to link it with what would be expected to happen in the universities. But you know, these are political decisions, and how they are linked to the technical work down varies from one country to another. And it's on that basis that a lot of East African community countries now are changing to call it competence-based curriculum. Some people call it skills-based. You know, the names really, sometimes there's a very thin line between outcomes-based and competence-based. And it is on this basis, for example, that Kenya is, and Kenya, Uganda, I think Rwanda already went that way, South Sudan, all of us are moving towards that kind of, try to make learning a little more flexible. But again, in this room, I think even if you're not a teacher, you will agree, because research has proved that assessment predominantly determines how we teach in the classroom, whether at the university or not. If we engage learners at the university, then they have the knowledge, they will come to reproduce, and they leave it at that. That will determine how we train them. It will determine how sometimes we even do our curriculum. I happen to have participated, I would say unfortunately, in developing a curriculum in the university. What we did was very simple. We needed that course introduced. We Googled and studied what happens in several universities across the world, and we simply copy-pasted, but made it in a manner that looks like it will be relevant. I now lead a curriculum body that is dealing with the basic education curriculum, and therefore I've had to read more about dealing with curriculum and transforming the curriculum for the country. And with all due respect, I realized that the way that we were doing it at the university, or the way I participated in it, was very superficial, was too academic, was too theoretical. We never gave it much thought to even try to understand how the learner will relate to that curriculum, and the outcomes we expect out of the learner at the end of it all.
Okay.
So I think these debates exist, but I know that we are moving on. But again, as I lead the curriculum reform in Kenya, it is good to know that at a lower level, curriculum is more political than technical. The easier bit is the technical.
Sure.
The political bit is the heavier. Marrying the two becomes very complicated. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Let me open the floor so that we will get the input from the House. Especially the question is for us. How can we create an enabling environment for PedaL? And that should come from us to them. We should tell them what we think the policy makers should do. And so the floor is open. If you have any contribution, what must be done to ensure that we are still able to advance PedaL in our universities, and then also advance the continent as well. May I have people who already have 1, Beatrice, 2, if you want to speak, 3, 4. Can the microphones go around? Beatrice, 1. Please be specific. Your point must be clear.
Yeah, we are having some conversations with the National Research Fund, at least of Kenya, that when lecturers apply for research funds, they should also be able to demonstrate that they have innovated pedagogically. Because it's one thing to undertake research and another to teach researchers and mentor them. So I would like your comment on that.
2. Yes.
Thank you. I have heard the speakers say they have included some policies in the institutions for the PhD, for example, people who are getting enrolled to teach at the university undertake pedagogy. I'm wondering what methods you have to track if your policies are being implemented. Thank you.
3. Oh, yeah.
Thank you. I want to comment on what to do to ensure that good teaching or effective teaching is encouraged in the university. And I think if we make teaching a condition for growth, I think that will help what PedaL is doing. I want to believe that a good teacher, a good lecturer should also be a good researcher. Because you need some theoretical understanding. We are guided by some philosophy. Everybody, every teacher, every lecturer So we need to bear that in mind. And I think if you bear in mind that one critical perspective of pedagogy is that it is a craft of teaching. Meaning that it takes time, it takes practice, it takes reflection to be, to master the skill of teaching. It's an evolving skill. And so I like to suggest that whatever we can do to ensure that teaching is a critical component for consideration in promotion, and that I know it's difficult. I was just discussing in my group here that how do you assess teaching? And I think that we can begin to set some criteria. For example, we expect that as a foundation for teaching, a lecturer must have course outlines, for example. You must have course outlines for all your courses. Number two, I believe that we can examine your questions, the nature of your questions, and your marking schemes. And also, I expect that a good lecturer or a good teacher will engage in some kind of action or practical research to show that that lecturer or teacher is making a contribution, what they are called public engagement or community engagement. I think that if we actually want to establish and encourage the relevance of PedaL or what we are doing, we need to push for that. And I think that AAU is in a position to do that, or there should be an association or a forum where we can encourage that.
Okay.
Otherwise, people will get away with just anything. Thank you.
All right. 4? No. Okay, he spoke your mind. Okay. Let me give you the opportunity.
Thank you very much. I
come
just
see
want
you.
to ask one of the things. As an undergraduate student, I remember very well that teachers or lecturers are also being assessed by their students. There's usually an evaluation form given to students field. Questions are set, so kind of trying to evaluate and see whether that person has actually impacted or not. Then, very few in class. We are no more than 15 majoring my discipline. I had economics, University of Wales. But as some of us are later find ourselves in the academics, it becomes so difficult because the paper presented this morning, we saw the number of classes that have been times 200 students, 300 in some cases, 500. So how do you assess? How do you get this lecturer assessed at this large number of students? But at least I still think we can go back and probably take a sample from the students. In my university, it is there as one of the criteria for promotion, quality of teaching. But unfortunately, we discover that no funds are sent to students to determine the quality of that lecturer. So the lecturer will sit down and subjectively just provide a score or some score. So I think we need to go back to that. And I think making students have this evaluation form also assesses the quality, and that should be included in our promotion. That would be a better way of doing it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The last one.
Yeah, thank you. I want to do a small digression in terms of laying emphasis on not the lecturers alone, but also the environment. If you look at most of the buildings where the students take the lectures, I think environmental psychologists will tell you. You see most of the classrooms, you have open windows when they are passing on the corridor, you have a lot of distractions. I don't think it's proper, the learning environment. And when you look at that, it's supposed to be an enclosure where the attention of the students will be so much focused on the lecture that the lecturer is delivering. And aside from that, you listen to what the keynote speaker, most of the things he said in one. The pedagogy we're talking about is highly technology driven. See a situation where sometimes in the lecture rooms you don't have electricity. How do you, if you want to access, for instance, YouTube, how do you access it? It's not possible. Internet facilities are mounted. So these are some of the things I think the university authorities should be employed to lay emphasis on trying to develop facilities to be able to align with the new developments in pedagogy. Thank you.
All right. We'll take the last.
Thank you very much. I want to thank the panelists. I'm Solomon from Uganda Matters University. My suggestion goes to our representative from Uganda National Council of Education, Cyrus. Maybe also other councils here down. That our council is called Council of Education, but we seem to be more on regulation and oversight. I want to ask that you go beyond regulation and oversight and work with the universities in some of finding some of these initiatives, like it is being funded by friend partner. How I wish our council came up with funds, budgeted, put it in the budget because you are a government Christian. Come up with a budget and fund the pedagogical training, especially where we are trying to formalize it, that all lecturers in university should have pedagogical training. So council should take it up and make a budget and fund it to the university.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, I want to make a comment and a question. The comment is this. You see, we have our policy makers, our policy actors here, but like Nigeria, we have a different perspective for this teaching and research. You know, we have research institutes that actually propel people to be promoted, even to professors. They don't teach. And we have public institutions that combine both teaching and research. And my own context, I believe that if you are not a good researcher, you cannot be a good teacher. Because you cannot give what you don't have. Because there are a lot of current issues, even in your area of specialization, that you need to actually have to be able to impart to students what is going on globally. And if you are not a researcher and you want people to be promoted just because they are teaching, they will teach, like you mentioned, obsolete things to the students because they are not correct. You know, so two of them go hand in hand. What they are trying to say is for the policymakers, there should be a kind of portion of, you know, in the assessment of teaching, whereby that can motivate the lecturers. And this percentage is for teaching, you know, because of the new approach in student learner, you know, centeredness. Then the other portion for research, the other one for community service. But it's very difficult to separate them. And if you do that in Uganda, in Tanzania, it is very, very difficult to do in Nigeria because it's political. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Scholar. My comment will come to Dr. John. Is at KICD, where they are rolling out the CBC. I see the elements of PedaL within the CBC framework. I see the children who are now in grade 3 coming into university in about 10 years. And I see that the change that PedaL is likely to bring in the university arena is that lecturers will be more in touch with the learner's expectation, with the learner deeply involved. Because we are looking at the CBC children coming to the university, they've been learning through exposure, experiential learning. Then they come to the university, we go on our face-to-face lecture method. Already we have a disjoint within that. So what I'd like to say is that if this can be integrated in currently teacher learning, the teacher learning landscape, that is from primary teacher college into the secondary, the university, the technical colleges for teachers, then we'll find a smooth transition. For me, PedaL give us a precursor to the future of university teaching under the context of CBC. Thank you.
Okay, so you'll be the last person. All right. I saw a lady's hand there. Okay, I'll give you the chance.
Okay, my name is Luke. I'm from the University of Nairobi. I would like just to comment on the policy issue which I have had most of you people say that you want to make a core or a requirement for PhD training. I think it's a good thing, and I know most of you are supporting because maybe a lot of pedagogy, and it's a good skill. But for the purpose of implementing the policy, I'm wondering what will you give the people doing PhD in pedagogy if it becomes the requirement? Because that means the people doing PhD in pedagogy will be doing less units or less courses than others who are not doing PhD in pedagogy. And how are they going to be compensated in order for them to graduate the right credits or right way? Thank you.
Violet from Moi University. My question goes back to the earlier speaker. I think it is in support to the earlier speaker. When we talk about pedagogy at the university, there is assumption that the moment we train in pedagogy, it translates to quality teaching. That is the assumption that we are putting, I think. Then the question is, what are some of the strategies and mechanisms that are being trained to safeguard quality despite of pedagogy? Another issue concerns my colleague who has just spoken a few minutes back, that yes, for us to be able to benefit from pedagogy, there is an aspect of culture. From the primary up to university, the culture of teaching has been oriented towards the lecture method. Therefore, even when we have transition to the university, the students that we have at the university, they have mindsets with the lecture method. What are we going to do in order to change the culture, the thinking of our clients in order to embed pedagogy for quality teaching?
Thank you very much. I think we'll give the opportunity to our panelists to address some of the questions. Prof, will you start?
Well, thank you. I think most of the things are valid comments. Well, asking for people who apply for research to show some level of pedagogical skill, I think is very important. The fact is that when you have research and it's not useful, you can pass it across, then it's useless. So I think I support that. Well, how do you measure teachers? Well, I know most Nigerian universities have this. Just like he said, you have the research, you have community service, and then you have teaching. And they put scores on all this. But the most important thing there, in most cases, is research. Because for you to be called a professor, you should really profess something. And my take on this is this. If anybody is to be promoted, you must have a certain level of teaching quality. No, in my university, for instance, students still assess us. Anonymous assessment. The quality assurance goes around, they give them papers, they will write about each teacher. And what is done eventually is that the comments are passed to the head of the department, who calls a departmental meeting, and they pass information to each of the teachers. And what we have seen is that what the students said about each teacher, they were right. They said correct things about them. So the head of the department now goes ahead to advise these teachers. So, the point is putting a scale on it may be difficult. Because teachers who passes students very well, we always get good marks. And the ones that are stuffed and stingy, like the big one, I'm sorry. Good. In America, the scores are normally 80, 90. And the other way is the other way. So the other ones that are stingy will always be rated low. But of course, just getting comment about them, about each teacher, is normally very important. And in our own case, I think we have the class size, the number of units, the number of years we have taught and things like that add up to your teaching whatsoever. And of course, you must have that level of score before you can be considered for promotion at all. In Nigeria, recently I just passed, I got a WhatsApp from the Humboldt Foundation, the network in Nigeria, that talks about promotion guidelines being developed by NUC. And I forwarded it to our own academic platform. So people are actually working to make sure that things are normal. Classroom environment is a big one. Most public universities are funded by governments. Unfortunately, in Africa, most government, the policies are what is going to bring gain on time. If you invest in education, you may not get the result in 5 years. And you want to do things that you see almost immediately. So the percentage of the budget in budget, these days you have 6, 8, 9, 10%. Not up to 26 that UNESCO suggested. So now the problem is you want to make news, you want to make the environment neat, you want to have this kind of arrangement in classes. This kind of arrangement in classes, I think is nearly impossible. Nearly impossible. But to make the classes clean, I'm sure it's something that we should work on to make sure that people can have good environment to learn. Then there's this issue about having research, the question you ask, having professors of research. We have it in other places, and how people teach. You know, in the university, we actually have some institutes. They are employed as research fellows, and you have research fellows. But once you are called a lecturer, the expectation is that you will teach and you do research. And just like he made the comment, we have research institutes where you can go to and become a chief research fellow. It's only when they come to university that they are giving professorship. But I think NISA started giving professorship. So, it's possible. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mara. Just a few issues that were directed to me. First of all, the issues of teaching versus research, teaching alone, research alone. Yes, in developing countries, they can afford that. But I don't know whether a developing country can afford that kind of lifestyle, where you have someone doing the research alone and somebody is for teaching. I think for now, we may be heading there, but I think for now, we need someone who can contribute to both, because we don't really have that capacity of kind of super specialization. Somebody talked about the PhD program that requires pedagogy. How do you track that? Maybe I just need to give a little bit of background here. When you get a PhD, at least in my country, the first thing is that you're welcome. They give you a class. That's the practice. So when people see you with a PhD, they really think that you have the right material to stand in the classroom. So for a thing that almost all people who are getting PhDs the next so years will end up in the classroom, we think that we need them to be prepared. The preparation may not be adequate, but it can be better than nothing. It could be a kind of good starting point which you can build on. So how do we track that? We, as the National Council for Education, we are building self-regulating universities. We upgraded a program where we have upgraded this course. We kind of have a trust that you as a university, you will fulfill what you have promised in a great program. But we even go beyond that. We do regular monitoring. We interact with the students. We ask questions. And so, if we find out that you have not done what you promised in a program document, basically we get to you, and if you cannot listen, then we can evoke a little bit of idea. But normally it does not reach at that level. How do you encourage good teaching in a university? I still can give my experience. I was a lecturer at Makerere University before I went to the National Council for Education. And I remember in my days they used once in a while students used to evaluate us. But these evaluations did not impart anything on my promotion. They were put aside and then the promotion on another way.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for the questions. I will not go to the questions which have already been answered adequately by my colleagues, so I'll answer one or two questions. The first one was by Beatrice. You indicated that you are now engaged with the Council for National Research of Kenya. I'm not so sure I'm getting the name correctly, to include pedagogical training requirements in giving grants and whether this is a good idea which should be emulated elsewhere. Personally, I would say it depends on the nature of the applicants. Certainly for some, it's a good idea. For example, people applying to do PhDs, people who are academic members of staff, I think those should have a pedagogical component. After all, what is doctorate? Etymologically, the origin of the term doctor simply means licensed to teach. Licentia docendi in Latin. It was first used at the University of Bologna in Paris in the 13th century. So if you are awarded a doctorate, it meant you are licensed to teach in this area. Maybe that's going back to the future. So I would support at least for those categories. Others, it would be on a case-by-case basis. There was another question, or comment on question, that our teaching right now is focused on a lecture method culture, both with the students and lecturers. But sometimes if you don't give lectures, even lecture notes, students ask you, so what have you done? Because they expect you to shout and then give the notes. What should we do to change that culture? I think there's something we can do. We should probably consider looking at our curricula and changing the approaches. At the University of the Islam, we have started that. In fact, we have started with the School of Education. This very year, we have overhauled our BA education and MSc with education to change them from being lecturer-centered to student-centered, because giving lectures is usually teacher-oriented. But once these programs become student-oriented, there will be less of lecturing and there will be a lot of student involvement. Maybe others might also wish to consider. We started with education because they are the experts. If it works out well, we can roll it out to other units.
Okay.
Other questions have already been answered.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. I know time is running out. I think culture is something that takes a process to change. I think it's already mentioned what they're starting to do at the University of Dar es Salaam. PedaL is music to our ears in terms of the reform that we are undertaking, because it means we already have a team that will be preparing to receive what we're already introducing, basic education. Yes, we are in Kenya, we have developed the basic education curriculum framework. We have the privilege that we also develop curriculum for teachers below the university. And this year, we are not admitting any teachers for training because we don't need to train them on what I would call the current curriculum. So that admission is stopped until we have the new curriculum ready that corresponds with the changing times. And yes, for the universities, that is why a task force was gazetted last Friday. If you look at the membership of that task force, you'll see that a lot of them are professors from the university, including the Commission for University Education, to try and help us bridge that gap and see how what we are doing now can be made better, but most critically linked to what is happening at the university. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Shall we put our hands together for our panelists?